Was it an inside job? That seems to be the big question. Was the second assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life, was that an inside job? Did somebody know? Did somebody give information to this would-be shooter? You know, there's all kinds of information coming out, and it's been, gosh, less than 24 hours since the assassin was, the attempted assassin or the alleged assassin or whatever you want to call this guy. It's been less than 24 hours since he was shot at by the Secret Service, accosted on 95 after this high-speed chase or whatever it was, and before we were even able to figure out who this guy is or what he's got going on. But I'll tell you what, man, the information is coming out fast and furiously, and I've just been living on X for like the last 12 hours, just trying to get everything together. And we have good news. The good news, again, is that Donald Trump survived. Donald Trump was, we believe, again, the target, and CNN reported this first, the target of this assassin at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, it makes sense. The president is shooting a round of golf. That's probably not the right. The president is playing a round of golf, and there's a shooter in the bushes with a high-powered rifle and a scope and tiles in a bag. And the tiles, by the way, that's makeshift body armor. That's the Biden economy. That's Bidenomics body armor for you. But guy couldn't afford body armor, so he goes to Home Depot or probably Lowe's, because Lowe's is Kamala, Home Depot's Trump. And so he probably went to Lowe's because he wouldn't go to Home Depot. He goes to Lowe's. He gets a bunch of tiles. He puts them on in like a JanSport sack, and he goes out there with his GoPro because I guess he wants to film the entire thing too. And that's something we know for a fact. This guy wasn't just an assassin. He was a wannabe social media influencer. And we'll get to all that here in just a minute. Again, the good news though is that the second attempt on Donald Trump's life was unsuccessful. Thank God. Thank God that this shooter wasn't standing on a sloped roof, because I don't know what we'd be talking about today. I don't know what the news would be today. I guess the golf course, where he was kind of level. It is Florida. Thank God in Florida, we don't have any hills. We don't have any mountains. Everything in Florida is flat. We're only 2 inches above sea level. Thank God for that, because that could have been the difference between life and death. I do have some bad news today, though. Before we dive into Ryan Wesley Routh and this assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life, by the way, 2.0. You'll see that everywhere. Donald Trump is 0-2. The assassins are 0-2 against Donald Trump. Donald Trump has survived both of these attempts. The first one in July, and the second one now in September. And yes, there's a lot of correlations. There's a lot of correlations between what people are saying and what's been going on. There's a lot of correlations between what people are reporting. There's a lot of correlations between the let's say for example the debate. The first debate, you may remember, happened with Joe Biden and Donald Trump on the 27th. And after that, after the 27th, what you saw of June was an attempted assassination on Donald Trump. And the second thing we saw was when Donald Trump had this debate with Kamala Harris. Right after the debate, just days after the debate, there was another attempt on his life. So you have to ask yourself, if Donald Trump truly lost this debate, if Kamala Harris really won this debate, why are people still shooting at him? It's something that you have to really take into account. It appears that on Facebook we're having some issues. If you're watching on Facebook and we're having some issues, that's not unusual whatsoever. I would say that, of all the social media platforms, and we actually have some information coming out about this a little later on, but of all the social media platforms, we have the biggest issues typically with our Facebook feed. If you really want the best experience, I would always recommend going to Rumble. Rumble seems to be the place where you're going to get unbiased opinions, where there's no censorship. The audio feed, the video feed always seems to be strong. We don't ever get shut out. None of our videos ever happen to disappear. We're never demonetized or demoralized or just told we're bad people. Nobody ever gets put into Rumble jail whenever they're commenting on our Rumble's feeds. Same thing with YouTube, too. I mean, ironically, YouTube has been pretty fair to us. But if you're having trouble on Facebook or any of the other platforms, I would always recommend Rumble, YouTube, X. Any of those should give you a much better quality performance. All right, listen, let's get back to it. The bad news today. We got bad news. We got good news. Donald Trump's alive. We've got bad news. And the bad news is Kamala Harris's cackle is back.
Hello to all my divine nine brothers and sisters. And my sorors. And to all my HBCU brothers and sisters.
Yeah, that was her. That was her talking to the Black Caucus, and she had her sparkly dress on, which apparently she accessorized with one of her favorite urban accents. That's it's very cringy. Kamala is back apparently.
Hello to all my divine nine brothers and sisters, and my sorors.
Yeah, she was able to suppress the cackle pretty well during the debate, but I guess afterward, she was like, you know what? I gotta go with what I know. I gotta bring it back. The people love the cackle. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring it back. So cringe has returned to the Harris-Walz campaign. Oh, and speaking of cringy, I don't know if you guys have seen Gwen. I don't know if you guys have seen Gwen Walz, but Gwen Walz is, she is a Saturday Night Live sketch ready to happen. I don't know. It's custom made for Saturday Night Live. I don't know if the producers at Saturday Night Live have gotten a hold of this clip yet. I don't know if they've started writing their script for this coming week, but she was out with her husband campaigning, and man, you have to listen to this lady. She was trying to get the crowd riled up. She was trying to get the crowd excited, and it became what, if Joe Biden's going to be gone, I think that Gwen Walz actually, it provides us the same kind of unique and bizarre entertainment that we had from some of the things that Joe and Jill Biden said. Listen to this.
But I kind of liked it when she did this. Turn the page. You like that? Okay, so I need you to be with me and practice with me. What are we going to do? We're going to turn the page. Oh, pretty good. Do it again. We're going to turn the page. And we're going to turn the page. All right, so I'm going to be watching you because when I see Wisconsin, and I'm going to watch you nationally on TV because this is a pretty important place, and Minnesota helped you practice with this. You just show me this. Turn the page, right? Turn the page.
Just turn the page. And if you're listening to us, what she's making, she's doing this big, long, she's got this big, it's not just turn the page. She's not just quoting, Bob Seger. She's got this whole arm movement where she's apparently it's some huge book. I guess it's the book of the United States of America or the book of the presidency or who, God only knows what she's reading in Minnesota. And she's taking a page and she's turning it really big with taking her hand from one side of the podium to the other. And she says, not only does that look like turn the page, but you know what else it looks like?
And you know what else that looks like? Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Donald Trump. We are turning the page.
This is where she gets crazy.
52 days and we are turning the page. 52 days and it is bye-bye, Donald Trump.
I mean, she started off as just like a quirky kind of condescending teacher, but she ended as a total lunatic. Her eyes got big and she started screaming and she did the Joe Biden lean into the microphone. And she's like, bye-bye, 52 days, we're going to turn the page. And it made me scared. It made me really, really, really scared. And I would thank God I wasn't anywhere near Wisconsin when she was at that rally. So that's the bad news. The bad news is Kamala Harris is bringing the cringe back, and she's getting a lot of assistance from Tim Walz's wife, Gwen. The good news, of course, is that the second assassination attempt on Donald Trump was not successful and that he is still with us. Now, the questions started almost immediately about this guy, Ryan Huth. Ryan Huth. And let me pull up his picture here. Here's this guy. This is the guy. This was him so apparently the story goes that Donald Trump decided last minute, and that's where a lot of the questions come from. But apparently he decided last minute, I want to go golfing. I want to do a golf trip at Mar-a-Lago. So he gets all his stuff together. He goes out golfing. And as he's on the fifth hole and then he's coming on to the sixth hole, whatever, the Secret Service, who is ahead of him on the golf course. And this is all new. This is all new since the Secret Service just totally since they totally, I mean, they screwed the pooch on that last assassination attempt where had Donald Trump not turned his head, thank God he did, he would have probably not been with us anymore. And that was the Secret Service's fault. And we know that because of what Senator Blumenthal from Connecticut, a Democrat, told us last week.
I think the American people are going to be shocked, astonished, and appalled by what we will report to them about the failures by the Secret Service in this assassination attempt on the former president. But I think they also ought to be appalled and astonished by the failure of the Department of Homeland Security to be more forthcoming, to be as candid and frank as it should be to them.
Basically, he's saying he's throwing everyone under the bus. He's going, the Secret Service, they messed up big time. They failed. It was an astonishing, it was an appalling, it was a shocking failure. And the American people should be astonished, appalled, and shocked when they see exactly what happened with the failures in Butler, Pennsylvania. And then on top of all that, when they see how the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security was not forthcoming and was not truthful and was not, transparent in all of their dealings after the fact. I mean, they should have come right out and just told us, hey, guys, we almost got the former president and maybe the future president killed. We apologize for that, and we're going to do everything we can. There were hearings, there was this, there was that. That woman in charge didn't even want to step down until she got, verbally accosted by people at the RNC. And so now we have an interim, we have an acting Secret Service director who had another big test yesterday at Mar-a-Lago when they accosted this guy, Ryan Routh. And so Blumenthal's out there going, this is a huge problem for the Secret Service. So now they have a bubble, and the bubble follows Donald Trump. So let's say Donald Trump's golfing, right? And let's say Donald Trump is on the 5th hole, which is where he was, on the 5th green. The bubble is 2 or 3 holes ahead of him. And the bubble of security and the Secret Service, they travel ahead and they scour the area and they make sure that, Donald Trump's got a nice lie ready for him. And they make sure that the bunkers are all nicely raked. And then they make sure that there's no assassins around. That's their job. Make sure the course looks good. Make sure there's no assassins. And so what happens is this time around, these guys are walking through the golf course and they're about 300, 500 yards ahead of Donald Trump. And they see a gun. They see a rifle sticking out of the bushes. And the Secret Service, we're not really sure the details, but apparently we'll get a little bit more transparency, we would hope, from the Department of Homeland Security after what Senator Blumenthal reported. But apparently the Secret Service sees this and immediately engages. Pow, 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 pow. That's what the shots were. The shots fired were apparently, allegedly, as we understand it now, not from Ryan Wesley Routh. It was from the Secret Service agents who saw the shooter in the bushes. How he got in the bushes, how he knew to be in the bushes, how long he'd been in the bushes, all of that we still don't know. There's still an investigation ongoing. In fact, there's a couple of investigations ongoing. There's a federal investigation and there's a local investigation, and we'll get to that here in just a minute. But the Secret Service starts shooting at this guy and he flees. Just like Tim Walz, when the bullets start flying, he takes off. And he runs for Congress. I'm just kidding. He runs. And there's a good Samaritan. There's some kind of patriot who's lurking around, sees this guy. Here's the gunshots. And this is miraculous. This is the best thing I love about Florida. This is the best thing I love about MAGA supporters and Trump supporters. You may remember in Butler, Pennsylvania, and Donald Trump touted this all the time. He talks about this constantly. In Butler, Pennsylvania, you have tens of thousands of people, American patriots, all MAGA faithful. They are in this field in Butler, Pennsylvania, and they're listening to their president. They're listening to their choice. They're listening to the guy who they know can make America great again. And it's hot. And they've been there for a long time, but they don't care because they love America and they're enthusiastic. And while they're watching their president, their chosen candidate, while they're watching Donald Trump deliver his speech and talk about his platform and sell them on his agenda and point to this chart about illegal immigration, and the bullets start flying, what does everybody do? Nothing. They get down and they stay calm and they don't leave and they don't run. And they don't flee, they stay there. And after they want to make sure Donald Trump's okay. And after Donald Trump gets up and after he pumps his fist and goes, fight, 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 everybody explodes in enthusiasm and excitement, and they're praying and they're crying and they're thanking God that this guy's alive. Thank God for sparing Donald Trump. When the bullets flew, those people did not leave. And at Mar-a-Lago in West Palm Beach yesterday, the bullets started firing. You heard the gunshots. Everybody knows what gunshots are like, sound like, especially in Florida. In Florida, we know exactly what we know what cicadas sound like. We know what gunshots sound like. There's a distinct difference between the two. And so this person hears the gunshots in West Palm Beach, walking by Mar-a-Lago, where he knows there's Secret Service. And what does he do? He grabs his phone and he starts taking photos. He's like, oh, I see this guy running. Ching, 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 ching. And then the guy gets in his car, gets into a black Nissan SUV. And this Good Samaritan chases him down and takes a picture of his license plate. Tick, 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 tick. That's how I take photos, by the way. Tick, 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 tick. You never take one. You never, in the old days, when we had a camera, we wanted a picture, we'd go click. But now, that was back when you had to pay for film. Now we're like, or you just hold your button down and you take like 1,000. That's how you get the jump in the air shots. That's how you get the perfect selfie. You can't just take, you know how you know someone's a boomer? They take one photo. It's like, who takes one photo? Anyway, he gets a license plate. He goes to the police. He goes, I saw this guy running out of the bushes at Mar-a-Lago shortly after the shots were fired. I saw him get into this black Nissan SUV. And I saw him drive away, but I got his license plate number. Boom, the police put it into the plate readers. They found him on 95. They chased him down and they got him. Him and his pink t-shirt. This guy, Ryan Wesley Routh. This is a guy who shows up to an alleged attempted assassination wearing a pink t-shirt. Now, a couple things. If you're hiding in the bushes, which typically are green, you'd think you would want to wear some kind of camouflage or some kind of shirt that blends in. However, you're also walking along the street in West Palm Beach, and a pink t-shirt probably stands out less than green camo. So again, he probably was like, I got to blend into the crowd, so I'm going to wear my best coral or salmon or whatever, Abercrombie and Fitch themed special color they've come up with for this. But he's got his salmon t-shirt on, and he goes into the woods hoping he won't be seen. Unfortunately, he is. And so now they've caught this guy. They've put him in the cruiser. They've taken him away, and they've actually charged him. In fact, we got it right here. Charged this morning. Suspect in apparent Trump assassination attempt charged with gun crimes. Let me move this over a little bit. Suspect faces gun charges. Ryan Wesley Routh, the suspect in the apparent assassination attempt of Donald Trump, has been charged with 2 counts, including possession of a firearm while a convicted felon and possession of a firearm with an obliterated serial number. A detention hearing is set for next Monday. He will remain in jail while awaiting trial. Now, while this is going on, you can see Donald Trump is still planning to attend all of his campaign events. Here's the obliterated serial numbers. One of the charges, Ryan Routh, the suspect who was taken into custody on Sunday for the potential assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump, is facing, involves possessing a firearm with an obliterated serial number. That means that when law enforcement recovered Routh's weapon, they had trouble reading its serial number. Law enforcement uses the serial number to trace a firearm and learn who owns it or when it was purchased. Federal agents had trouble running that search on Routh's weapon Sunday evening because the serial number was damaged. It's a common charge you see with drug and gang suspects. Most times, people don't manage to obliterate the serial numbers in every place it is imprinted on the gun. They can do the ones readily visible, but not others in harder to reach places. This court document says the serial number was unreadable to the naked eye. So this guy's got a gun with a serial number that's been obliterated, that was unrecognizable, and he happens to be in the woods at the very time that Donald Trump is walking around playing golf. And now, why is this interesting to everybody? Well, because if you look at this other CNN headline, where was it? I had it. There was a CNN headline that says, look at this, Trump's golf outing was last-minute decision, sources say. Trump's golf outing was a last-minute decision, sources say. So now it becomes really interesting. How is it that this guy, Ryan Routh, who apparently had some beef with Donald Trump, and we'll get to what we think the motive was here in just a second, how is it that this guy, seemingly just weirdo, walking around, has a weapon has a GoPro ready to go, has bags full of tile that he got at probably Lowe's, not Home Depot. I don't know where he got it. I'm just speculating. Which is, again, that Bidenomics body armor. It's the low red body armor. And he's in position at a golf course at the just moments before Donald Trump is coming around the corner, and it's a last-minute decision. That's where these questions are popping up. And you're going to see this question. The first thing I saw when this headline was posted by CNN was inside job. Who on the inside can't be trusted? Who let this guy know? Who's leaking the information? If Donald Trump says, you know what, I think I'm going to go golfing today at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, who's getting that information to this fella so that he can be waiting in the woods with a gun? Or was he just waiting there for, I don't know, how long was he there? But it seems really suspicious. The timing is really bizarre that he was ready. It wasn't like the Butler, Pennsylvania rally. The Butler, Pennsylvania rally was scheduled days in advance, if not a week in advance. Everybody knew Donald Trump was going to go do a rally. A lot of people knew he was going to Butler, Pennsylvania. You had to get tickets on his website. Everybody knew the exact location of the rally. CNN was there, Fox News. You had media credentials that were being handed out. That's something that, okay, everybody knew it was going to be here. That doesn't excuse the fact that this shooter could get up on the roof undetected and that the Secret Service would allow him to take these shots at the former president. That's inexcusable, as Senator Blumenthal will tell you. But the fact of the matter is, this golf outing was last minute. And there seemed to be just as much preparation. There seemed to be just as much involvement. This guy seemed to be able to get almost as close to Donald Trump as the shooter in Butler, Pennsylvania, who got so close he almost took out the former president. It's a conspiracy theory, maybe, or maybe just a theory. We don't know what this guy's motive was because he hasn't yet spoken, but it does seem, again, like curious timing. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump debate. Everybody in the media is trying to cover for Kamala and say, oh, she won. Oh, she obliterated Donald Trump. Oh, it was amazing. And Kamala Harris, she got a clear-cut victory. But then days later, all of a sudden, you have another assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Maybe that debate didn't go as well as everybody on the left is telling you. Maybe that debate didn't go as well as the media is trying to proclaim. Maybe Kamala Harris doesn't have the lead. Maybe, just maybe, Donald Trump, the polls are telling you, is still the favorite, is still winning, is still getting the votes in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, in Michigan, in Nevada, in Arizona, in Georgia, in North Carolina. Maybe those polls are lying to you. And maybe somebody knew that. And maybe somebody got word that Donald Trump had changed his mind and was going to play golf. And they got a phone call or a text message from someone. It's going to be really interesting to see where this investigation goes. Now, the good news is, there's more good news. The good news is the investigation last time was horrible. There was no investigation. We didn't hear about this guy ever again. They shot him. They gave his body to his relatives who wouldn't even talk to the reporters at Costco, and they incinerated it. They took him to the crematorium like on Ozark, and they shoved, and he's gone, and there's no more evidence, and we don't know anything that's going on, and the story's kind of been dropped. But now, the second time, first time, shame on you. Second time, shame on us. There is going to be an investigation. And one of the big things is because this guy is still alive. This guy's still alive. CNN was talking to a former FBI agent about what that means.
What does the fact that he wanted to survive say to you?
It says that he's not he's not suicidal, apparently. He wasn't going to take his own life if he was almost being captured. Clearly, we saw that he was captured without that. And it tells me that he's probably much more politically motivated. The last shooter in Pennsylvania, I don't want to say his name because I don't want to promote him in any way, but he was clearly a guy that was looking for the notoriety of taking that shot. I would think we're going to find that this guy's extremely politically motivated and that he probably was spurred on by much of the political diatribes that are going on these days, talking about Trump, equating him to Hitler and things like that. So I don't think this is the last we'll see of crazies out there trying to do this.
By the way, apparently that guy was sitting on a boat. And when you see someone sitting like that with the triangle, that means that they're on some kind of a yacht. That doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is, the important part of that is this guy was politically motivated. He didn't try to take his own life. He didn't want to be killed. He wanted to survive. He had some kind of message that he wanted to send. And that is important. because that means that if this guy winds up, let's just say Jeffrey Epstein, then there's going to be some more questions. But there is going to be an investigation, and this guy will be in fact, they're already investigating. Video has been popping up all over of this guy and his what did he say? He said he had some kind of political affiliations that we needed to look into. Well, we looked at his truck. And I don't know if you can see this on his truck. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. There is a Biden-Harris sticker. I can't get that much bigger, but you can see it right there on his truck. There's a Biden-Harris sticker right there in the center of his truck. And that is, I mean, I guess telling. We're also starting to see some of his political donations that have been made year after year, and they all tend to be to Act Blue or other Democrat-affiliated organizations. We found this video of him. Apparently, this guy has he's got a yen for Ukraine. He is a huge fan of Ukraine, and he is not a fan of anybody who is not a fan of Ukraine. Here's video uncovered from him. I believe this was taken in Ukraine, where he has worked as an advocate, where he has tried to get soldiers of fortune, people to go and fight alongside the Ukrainians against Vladimir Putin. Listen to this.
When you talk to a 20-year-old guy that sold everything he owns to come here to fight, that is heroism. He's coming here to risk his life for humanity, for the Ukrainians. Guys that sell everything they own to come here and support the Ukrainians while others sit at home and do nothing. It's totally mind-blowing how we have this divide of people that are selfless and courageous and wonderful and willing to sell everything they own to come here and support, keep people from getting killed, to shelter kids and protect Ukrainians, and others that just, want to sit at home and not. It's just, it's an indictment of our entire human society to say, hey, where do we stand? Do we stand for good, or do we just not care? I mean, does the world not care? That's the feeling that I wrestle with every day in my interactions with everybody. Every one of us is responsible for the outcome of this war. Every one of us.
And so we see that this guy has a real ideological attraction and attachment to Ukraine. And if he's got this ideological attachment and attraction to Ukraine, and he's out there saying, look, the real heroes are the 20-year-olds who sell everything they own and come over here and they fight. And they fight for Ukraine. They try to do whatever they can. Those are the heroes. They're selfless. They'll sacrifice everything. And now here's a guy who sees maybe Donald Trump as a threat to Ukraine. Maybe he thinks that Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump are like this. Maybe he thinks that Donald Trump is really, truly Putin's puppet. Maybe he thinks that Donald Trump will do whatever Vladimir Putin says and will hand over the good, fine people of Ukraine to Vladimir Putin if given the chance. Maybe he thinks all of that. Maybe he feels all of that inside. And so maybe he decides the only way to save Ukraine, the only way to be a hero, the only selfless thing to do is to try and take out the biggest threat to the Ukrainian people that he sees, not Vladimir Putin, but Donald Trump in a second presidency. Now, where on earth would he get that idea? You're asking, where on earth would this guy see Donald Trump as a threat like that? Well, maybe from the mainstream media, who even now, after this attempt, are trying to pin the blame on Donald Trump. Lester Holt, what a D-bag this guy turned out to be, man. Lester Holt used to seem like a somewhat decent broadcaster. This guy is the epitome of media propaganda. This guy is the epitome of the media weaponized against Donald Trump and spouting lies and mistruths about Donald Trump and his administration and his ideas and his agenda in an effort to try to sway the vote. Listen to what Lester Holt said about this whole thing.
Today's apparent assassination attempt comes amid increasingly fierce rhetoric on the campaign trail itself. Mr. Trump, his running mate J.D. Vance continue to make baseless claims about Haitian immigrants in Ohio. This weekend, there were new bomb threats in that town. Our Maggie Vespa is in Columbus.
Okay, so Lester Holt is saying this new assassination attempt of Donald Trump comes amid increased inflamed rhetoric from Donald Trump. So he's saying, from Donald Trump, he's saying that there's increased rhetoric. And that's why Donald Trump is the victim of an assassination attempt. And that's why Donald Trump finds himself potentially in the crosshairs. Once again, let's talk a little bit about violent rhetoric for a second, because I said that this was hours after, or I'm sorry, an hour after. This was matter of fact, I'm sorry, I said this was before the attempt, but I come to find out that this tweet by Hakeem Jeffries, the leading Democrat in the House of Representatives, the minority leader, this tweet came just an hour after the assassination attempt. And he wrote, "Extreme MAGA Republicans are the party of a national abortion ban and Trump's Project 2025. We must stop them. We must stop them." That's what Hakeem Jeffries wrote. So I don't know what Lester Holt is talking about when he's talking about the violent rhetoric of what's going on in Springfield. Also, Hakeem Jeffries wrote a flat-out lie. "Extreme MAGA Republicans are the party of a national abortion ban and Trump's Project 2025. We must stop them." The first part of that is a lie. The second part of that is, what is that? I don't even know. Marching orders? What is that? We must stop them. That's while there's a guy hiding in the bushes with a weapon, and we believe trying to target President Trump. Does he follow Hakeem Jeffries on X? I don't know. That's something we should probably look into. I actually just saw Libs of TikTok write, "What the actual F is wrong with you?" Now, to be fair, Hakeem Jeffries, moments after that, came out and tweeted, "Political violence has no place in a democratic society." Because I guess one of his
apparent assassination attempt comes amid increasingly.
I guess one of his advisors was like, "Dude, I don't know if you know this, but you tweeted that out, and there's been an attempt on Donald Trump's life." Listen, speaking of JD Vance, speaking of everything else, speaking of this crazy guy who, again, seems to have bought into the rhetoric, seems to have bought into the messaging that the Democrats and the Kamala Harris campaign and Joe Biden, the media, I mean, pretty much all of the media, and don't even get me started on the debate, but when you're David Muir, who now, by the way, I'm convinced is the worst person in the world. I used to think, and again, we've talked about it, I thought David Muir was an okay guy. I thought he seemed unbiased. No, David Muir is the problem. I blame David Muir for everything wrong in this country because David Muir had the opportunity to put to bed some of the rumors. David Muir had the opportunity to once and for all tell people who are mentally imbalanced. He had the opportunity to once and for all tell them, by the way, this is a lie. This is not true. If you hear Kamala Harris or anybody else say that Donald Trump called these neo-Nazis in Charlottesville very fine people, I'd like to point out right now that, Madam Vice President, that's not true. That's been debunked. If you think that Donald Trump is going to sign into action a federal abortion ban, that's not true. And President Trump has said on several occasions, Madam Vice President, he's not going to do that. So we'd like to put that to rest too. He had the opportunity to stop these lies from moving forward, and he did not. He allowed them to go out into the world and unquestioned. And they just started, and Kamala Harris replanted them in a lot of people's minds. And a lot of people have visceral reactions when they think their abortion rights are going to be gone. A lot of people have bad reactions when they think that Donald Trump is a racist and a neo-Nazi and that he could potentially find himself back in the White House. A lot of folks aren't going to like that. And David Muir allowed that to go unchecked. He allowed that to happen. ABC News finally started fact-checking some of the things that were, but again, 67 million people watched the debate on ABC. A fraction of them watched Martha Raddatz on Sunday, but we'll get to that here in just a minute. Before we do, I want to remind you about something that you can do to help support this show, and we have a lot of people who've been supporting this show. In fact, we got a super chat from Cesar Garcia. I don't know why it's red. That's interesting. Why is it red? Let me let me change that real quick. I just changed the background. But anyway, we'll leave it there. Caesar just sent us a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate that. And the super chats are great. We love getting the super chats. We love getting the Rumble rants. Another way that you can support us, that a lot of people choose to support us, is by purchasing some of our items and our gear from the Mark Kaye Shop. And it's really easy to find. MarkKayeShop.com is where you go. And there's a picture of my daughter, since she's sporting the Brighter Future hoodie and the Brighter Future t-shirt, both of which she stole from my wife and I. And that symbolizes and it has Donald Trump's iconic quote from the RNC.
America's future will be bigger, better, bolder, brighter, happier, stronger, freer, greater, and more united than ever before.
And if you want to get one of those for yourself, it's really easy to do. Kaye Shop, you can see they're right there at the top. And we've been shipping these out like hotcakes, man. We've been shipping them out like hotcakes. We've got the MAGA King collection too. Welcome to MAGA King, man. Take your order. Whatever you want. If you want the Kaye Saves the Republic official line of clothing and accessories and stickers and hoodies and all that great stuff, we are ready to print and ship. Of course, Patriot gear for all of our Patriots, old and new. And man, we got a whole bunch of new Patriots popping up. I look at Rumble every single day, and we've got hundreds of more people. I look at our YouTube numbers, and so many people are subscribing. Every time we go live, we have more people watching. Every time we post a video, we have more people that choose to enjoy it. Every time we post a podcast, we get more and more people telling iTunes and everyone else, I love this podcast. All of you are Patriots. And we welcome you to the Patriot Nation. We'd love for you to outfit yourself accordingly. And then, of course, there's the Kaye Shop. So much great stuff. All you have to do is go to markshop.com, markshop.com, and we will send out
America's future.
We will send out whatever it is you want, and we will send that out to you whenever you want it. I mean, you're going to want it immediately, so we'll send it out to you. We'll send it out to you pretty much immediately. All right, let's get to some other news, because look, there's other stuff going on too. They're investigating this entire thing. Oh, and just in case you're like, you know what, this investigation's going to go nowhere. This is a bogus investigation. Nothing's going to happen. I would like to let you know that there's some distinct differences before we get to Kamala Harris. There's some distinct differences between this assassination attempt and the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. And the biggest distinction is that this assassination attempt was not in Butler, Pennsylvania. This assassination attempt was in the free state of Florida. And in the free state of Florida, we got a guy in charge by the name of Ron DeSantis, who immediately wrote yesterday, the state of Florida will be conducting its own investigation regarding the attempted assassination at Trump International Golf Club. The people deserve the truth about the would-be assassin and how he was able to get within 500 yards of the former president and current GOP nominee. We did not see a tweet like this from Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania, after what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. In fact, I don't know that the State Bureau of Investigation in Butler, Pennsylvania was ever involved. I know the FBI was on site, the Secret Service was on site. I know there was some local law enforcement. I haven't heard anything at all. I haven't heard anything at all from the Pennsylvania Attorney General, for example. I haven't heard anything at all from the governor. I haven't heard anything at all about that first shooting. Really, since Joe Biden dropped out of the race and it was all Kamala all the time, I've heard nothing about the first Trump assassination attempt. Well, this time it was Florida. And Florida's the wrong place to go because we know law enforcement here. And we have a governor who's not messing around. We have the free state of Florida. The oasis of freedom, as we call it, has one of the finest and strongest governors in the country who, despite the fact that he went toe-to-toe with Donald Trump in the last presidential primary, is still a huge Trump supporter and a huge conservative and wants to do whatever it is to make sure that this state it protects its citizens. Donald Trump lives here. He's a resident. And it's the governor's duty to say, look, if somebody comes after a resident of Florida who also happens to be a former president and, oh yeah, happens to be the nominee and potentially the likely next president of the United States, we have state resources. And we're going to use them here in the state of Florida, and we're going to conduct our own investigation. So this won't be like this is not Butler, Pennsylvania. This is West Palm Beach, Florida. And they are very, very different places. They're governed very, very differently as well. So we look forward to that. All right, let's get back to Kamala Harris for a minute.
Hello to all my divine nine brothers and sisters. And my soror.
Oh, God. Kamala Harris sat down, almost nobody knows, by the way, Kamala Harris sat down with a reporter all by herself. No Tim Walz, no emotional support VP, no pre-planned press conference, no debate moderators helping her out, fact-checking her opponent. She sat down one-on-one for an interview with a reporter that nobody has ever heard of on a station in Philadelphia, not nationally, at a time, Friday night? When nobody is watching television, they tried to sit down Kamala Harris with somebody that they thought would be friendly, unknown, kind of boring. And oh yeah, they did it at a time when they figured nobody's going to be watching. So Friday night, if you were out doing other stuff, which most of us were, Friday night, you probably missed this interview with Kamala Harris. And this interview with Kamala Harris, I got to be honest with you, was one of the, I don't know what was wrong with the audio, but it was one of the, it's the reason why Kamala Harris doesn't sit down for interviews. This guy's name is Bill Paff or Taff or I don't know, Bill. Well, let's go with Bill. And he works for this local station in Pennsylvania. And he asked some good questions, but his time was limited and he didn't have the stature. So he didn't ask any follow-up questions, which is not at all surprising. But listen to the question that he asks Kamala first, and then listen very closely to her answer.
When we talk about bringing down prices and making life more affordable for people, what are one or two specific things you have in mind for that?
Well, I'll start with this. I grew up a middle-class kid. My mother raised my sister and me. She worked very hard. She was able to finally save up enough money to buy our first house when I was a teenager. I grew up in a community of hardworking people, you know, construction workers and nurses and teachers. And I try to explain to some people who may not have had the same experience, you know, but a lot of people will relate to this. You know, I grew up in a neighborhood of folks who were very proud of their lawn, you know?
Okay. So the question again was, let's drill down. What specifically do you have in mind to help lower prices? What specifically do you have in mind that will bring down the price of consumer goods and gasoline and the cost of living and the cost of homes? How are you going to help American consumers with these astronomical and ungodly gas prices and food prices? How are you going to get us back to a position where inflation isn't crushing the everyday American, ordinary American? How are you going to get us back to a place where our salaries, which aren't going up, can afford the lifestyles not just that we dream of, but that we need to sustain basic human survival? And her answer was, I grew up in a place where everybody really cared about their lawn. You know? I mean, it's the pre-planned question. It's something that we knew she wasn't going to answer, that she has no answer for, because she doesn't know how these are all platitudes. These are all things she's going to say, and she has no answer. She continued, by the way. She tried to segue into one of her borrowed platforms from Joe Biden.
And I was raised to believe and to know that all people deserve dignity, and that we as Americans have a beautiful character. You know, we have ambitions and aspirations and dreams, but not everyone necessarily has access to the resources that can help them fuel those dreams and ambitions. So when I talk about building an opportunity economy, it is very much with the mind of investing in the ambitions and aspirations and the incredible work ethic of the American people, and creating opportunity for people, for example, to start a small business.
Start a small business. That's how you start a small business. So the question again was, what's your plan to bring down these exorbitant prices on everything? What are you going to do to help make it easier for Americans to afford groceries and basic essentials for living and working in this country? And she said, I'm going to make it easier for you to start a small business. So her answer isn't, I'm going to curb inflation. I'm going to make housing affordable. I'm going to bring interest rates down. I'm going to drill, baby, drill, so that we can be domestic producers of oil again and reduce everybody's energy costs. She didn't say that. She said, start a small business. What that means is Americans are coming to her and saying, we are being crushed. We don't know how to survive. We don't have the money we need. Everything is too expensive. How do you fix that? And she said, start a small business. You need to make more money. Prices aren't coming down under Kamala Harris. Inflation isn't getting better under Kamala Harris. Your salary is not increasing under Kamala Harris. None of this stuff is happening under Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris's plan is not to bring down the price of anything. Kamala Harris's plan is for you to try to just make more money on your own. The government will help. She'll kick in $50,000 in tax credit for you to start a small business. Where's that money going to come from? You don't even want you don't even want to know. And so this guy doesn't press her. I mean, he doesn't press her on. He moves on to the next question. And one of the next questions is, you say you're different from Joe Biden, but we are not really seeing that you're different from Joe Biden, and you're not differentiating yourself from Joe Biden. So how are you actually different from Joe Biden? Listen to this.
You talked at the debate and at previous appearances about turning the page on the past. And in fact, here today in Johnstown, you're talking about a new way forward.
Yeah.
I think some people have a question, given maybe your current role as Vice President of the United States, how different you are from Joe Biden. And so I wonder if there are one or two spots, policy areas or approaches where you would say, I'm a different person.
Well, I'm obviously not Joe Biden. And, I offer a new generation of leadership. And so, for example, thinking about developing and creating an opportunity economy where it's about investing in areas that really need a lot of work. And maybe focusing on, again, the aspirations and the dreams, but also just recognizing that at this moment in time, some of the stuff we could take for granted years ago, we can't take for granted anymore.
All right, so the question once again was, how are you different from Joe Biden? What are you going to do differently from Joe Biden? She says, I'm going to invest in the opportunities. I'm going to invest in an opportunity economy, and I'm going to invest in the things we have now that just don't work. What does that mean? Joe Biden has not been investing in things that just don't work. What she did on Friday night on this Philadelphia TV station with this unknown reporter, what they tried to bury was Kamala Harris going on television and saying, Joe Biden has done nothing. Joe Biden has not created opportunity for you. Joe Biden has not invested in the things that are broken in this country. Joe Biden has not invested in anything that's not working. Build Back Better has been a great big bust. There's been no building, there's no back, and there's no better. Everything is worse. And Kamala Harris, when asked, how are you going to be different from Joe Biden, said, I'm going to invest in the things that are broken. Well, what the hell was Joe Biden investing in? What was Joe Biden doing this whole time? He was trying to pay back student loans, which is illegal and unconstitutional and outside of the purview of the executive branch of government. And he found that out. Was he really trying to fix something that was broken, or was he just trying to buy votes? Probably the latter. Joe Biden had that eviction moratorium that he forced on landlords through the CDC. Again, illegal, unconstitutional, outside of the purview of the office of the chief executive or the CDC. Did Joe Biden care about that? No. He was just, again, trying to help the little people because he knew he needed the votes. And Kamala Harris is now admitting to everybody, Joe Biden did nothing. He didn't invest. I'm going to do it all. If you elect me, I'm going to make sure that not only are you able to start a small business, but I'm going to make sure that you have the best looking lawn in the neighborhood. Because growing up, I came from a little area where everybody was really, proud of their lawns. That's Kamala Harris's plan. Should she become president? Another great reason why Kamala Harris should not be president. Listen, I'm getting breaking news that Donald Trump is tweeting again. So let's go take a look real quick at Donald Trump's Twitter and see what all the former president has to say. Donald Trump here says, as president, this was September. That was yesterday, 20 minutes ago. I would like to thank everyone for your concern and well wishes. It was certainly an interesting day. Most importantly, I want to thank the U.S. Secret Service, Sheriff Rick Bradshaw and his Office of Brave and Dedicated Patriots, and all of law enforcement for the incredible job done today at Trump International in keeping me, as the 45th president of the United States and the Republican nominee in the upcoming presidential election, safe. The job done was absolutely outstanding. I am very proud to be an American. Now, that was just something he posted on Truth, and it looks like he reposted again. It looks like he reposted again on. Looks like he reposted that again on Twitter. Let's look at his other tweet here, and he wrote 19 minutes ago, the rhetoric lies as exemplified by the false statements made by Comrade Kamala Harris during the rigged and highly partisan ABC debate, and all of the ridiculous lawsuits specifically designed to inflict damage on Joe's, then Kamala's, political opponent, me, has taken politics in our country to a whole new level of hatred, abuse, and distrust. Because of this communist left rhetoric, the bullets are flying. And it will only get worse, allowing millions of people from places unknown to invade our country and take over our country is an unpardonable sin. Our borders must be closed, and the terrorists, criminals, and mentally insane immediately removed from American cities and towns, deported back to their countries of origin. We want people to come into our country, but they must love our nation and come in legally and through a system of merit. The world is laughing at us as fools. They are stealing our jobs and our wealth. We cannot let them laugh any longer. Make America great again. I believe that was also a Truth Social post that he converted and put onto Twitter. But the fact that he's on Twitter, the fact that he's on X is very telling. And look, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Kamala Harris lied during the debate several times. And ABC News finally got around to fact-checking her. Listen to this. This is the one section that Martha Raddatz took umbrage with and wanted to fact-check her guest, Maura Healey, the governor of Massachusetts, and mouthpiece for the Kamala Harris campaign. Keep in mind, Kamala Harris won't talk to the press. She'll only talk to that guy in Philadelphia on Friday night. She won't go on the Sunday shows. She won't go on prime time. She won't answer the hard questions. Tim Walz won't even go. JD Vance is everywhere. I was wrong. I said they weren't going to invite him on the Sunday shows anymore because he was too good. They've invited him back on the Sunday morning shows, and man, that guy's a genius. That guy's amazing. JD Vance is probably the best choice for vice president that Donald Trump could have made in this particular climate. And JD Vance is earning his keep. He's earning his place on that ticket every single day. We're going to bring you what JD Vance said here in just a minute. But first, listen to this clip again from the debate that Martha Raddatz from ABC News was not happy about.
As of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century.
So that was the lie about the war zone, that Joe Biden is the peace-loving president who has ended all of these wars, and there's no combat. There's not one troop, American troop, Navy, Air Force, Marine, Space Force, any of them, the Coast Guard, there's not one troop anywhere in the entire world in a live combat zone. She said that at the debate. We played you the reaction of our good buddy, Congressman Mike Waltz, who rattled off a litany of places where there are troops being killed, where there are troops being injured, where there are troops being shot at, where there are troops being attacked. And Martha Raddatz had Maura Healey, the governor of Massachusetts, on and said, what is she even talking about?
Our fact checkers found that to be false, and I have a lot of experience in that area as well. There are currently 900 U.S. military personnel in Syria, 2,500 U.S. troops in Iraq. All have been under regular threat from drones and missiles for months. We also have action in the Red Sea. We also, every single day, the Navy SEALs, Delta Forces, special operators can be part of any sort of deadly raid. So why would she make that claim?
Well, I think what's important here, Martha, is that Kamala Harris, in contrast to Donald Trump, demonstrated herself to be commander-in-chief. We are in a world where there are all sorts of conflicts, and it's all the more reason we need somebody who's serious and who supports the military.
What do you mean? Whoa. We're in a world where there's all kinds of conflicts? Kamala Harris said at the debate, there's no conflicts. That was the whole point of the question. The whole point of the question was, hey, in this clip, Kamala Harris said there were no conflicts, but there's countless conflicts. So why would she say that? And Maura Healey says Kamala Harris is just showing that she is in a better position to be commander-in-chief because this world has tons of conflicts. These are the same conflicts Kamala Harris just denied. And for some reason, maybe because David Muir is the worst person in the entire world and didn't fact-check Donald Trump, didn't fact-check Kamala Harris on this particular point live during the debate. Maybe because Lindsey Davis, we know, was in the bag for Kamala Harris long before this debate ever happened. Maybe since ABC was derelict in their duty during the debate, Martha Raddatz decided to come on and start fact-checking. She stopped her and said, whoa, that's not true.
And just remember,
but Governor, excuse me, but she said there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone. That is not true. You say she demonstrated her ability to be commander-in-chief, but did she not know about these people in Syria and Iraq? Why would she say that?
Look, that was a comment. That was a comment in a debate. I think the point that she was trying to make was a broader point. And of course, we have military in place all around this country.
She meant the world. We have military. Of course, we have military in place all over this country, but we also have them in place all over the world. But listen to what she said there. She brushed off. She goes, look, Martha, that was just a comment during a debate. What? So what? So we're not supposed to, aren't those the comments that we're supposed to take into consideration? Aren't those the comments that it's important to get the most factually accurate? Oh, that was just a comment during a debate. That was just something we just made that crap up so that American people would like her. We just wanted to reach out to the low information voters. We wanted the people who don't actually know what's going on in the world to think that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have brought peace upon this globe unlike anyone has ever seen before. That no American soldiers are in danger or harm's way because for the first time in history, not one American man or woman is in an active combat zone. That was just something we said during the debate. That's not true. We know there's soldiers all over the world. Come on. That's just debate talk. You know, we knew she was going to be on stage with 67 million people watching, and we knew that she was behind, and we knew that she needed to win. So we just gave her a list of stuff to say, and we knew it wasn't true. We knew that wasn't. We know Donald Trump didn't write Project 2025. That's just debate talk. We know that Donald Trump doesn't want to sign a federal abortion ban. That's just a comment you make in a debate. That's not something that's a fact. Come on, it's a debate. You know, like Donald Trump, remember locker room talk? This is just debate talk. It's just a comment during a debate. Yes, we know that Donald Trump didn't say neo-Nazis in Charlottesville, Virginia were very fine people. We know that's been debunked by Snopes and pretty much everybody else. It's just debate talk. It's a comment during a debate. Martha, cut me some slack. The best was a TikTok from soldiers. These are soldiers in a live combat area, by the way, who went on TikTok. They were watching the debate and they literally just laughed out loud at Kamala Harris and this particular comment.
And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world. The first time this century. What? But let's understand.
So where the are we right now?
And this guy, there's like 6 or 7 soldiers. They're enjoying their MREs. Enjoying maybe not the right word, but they're enjoying their MREs. They're in a tent somewhere. They're all in their khakis, khaki t-shirts and camos. And they're watching this TV and they're watching the debate and they hear Kamala Harris say, there's not one American soldier in an active war zone. And the guy goes, what? Where the F are we? And he pans around to show all of his buddies and they're all cackling. They're all laughing. They're all laughing at this woman that Maura Healey, the governor of Massachusetts, believes showed herself to be the true and honorable choice for commander-in-chief. That's just really rich. Listen, before we sign, I do want to get to JD Vance because JD Vance is a very important. JD Vance has found himself in a very important position historically. Not only did he replace Mike Pence on the ticket, not only is he the running mate of Donald Trump in what seems like it could be a successful bid for the presidency, not only is JD Vance lined up to be one of the youngest vice presidents we've ever had, but JD Vance is a great politician, a great orator, a fantastic communicator, and a guy that seems to have a lot of common sense. And when JD Vance was first announced, there was a lot of trepidation on the side of the right and, the left just destroyed him. The whole childless cat lady, the whole this or that, he was calling Donald Trump a Nazi, whatever. He's turned out to be not just the secret weapon, but like the weapon for the Donald Trump campaign. Donald Trump is out there doing his thing. JD Vance is out there doing his thing, and neither one of them can be stopped. And the way that they work together is so great. Donald Trump will go out on stage and say, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people who live there. And it becomes a viral sensation and they remix it into a fantastic song.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats.
Eat the cat. Eat the cat. I can't tell you, by the way, you can imagine my entire weekend. I was just singing. Every time I saw my dogs walk in the room, I'd go, they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. They like the eat the cat lyric, by the way. My dogs are into they're not to eat the dogs, but when I say eat the cat, they're like, ha ha ha, that's very funny. But anyway, so Donald Trump goes out and says that, and JD Vance spends the weekend explaining to everybody that this is actually happening in Springfield, Ohio, and that the Governor Mike DeWine of Ohio, is now asking for federal resources to deal with these Haitian immigrants because they have overtaken Springfield, Ohio, and other parts of the state, and that they are destroying the economy, that they've had to put so much effort into law enforcement and education and healthcare and everything else. It's overwhelming the state of Ohio, and the government dropped them there and then took off. They dumped and they dashed is what that was the Kamala Harris plan with these Haitian migrants, and now they're eating the dogs and they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat.
They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Eat the cat, eat the cat.
Yeah. So anyway, JD Vance is out there and he's talking about all these things, and he's being asked about all these things. And not only does he offer great answers, but he knows how to handle the media. And Dana Bash, who interviewed Kamala Harris along with her emotional support VP, Tim Walz, was interviewing JD Vance this weekend on CNN, and she kept cutting him off. And JD Vance was like, look, lady, do you want to shut up and let me answer the question?
These calls from the constituents. Dana, and they're telling me this stuff is happening. Dana, would you like to ask me questions and then let me answer them, or would you like to debate me on these topics? I noticed that when you had Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, you gave them multiple choice answers to the questions that you asked, and you allowed them to answer the questions. I'm happy to be here to talk about policy, but if you're going to interrupt me every single time that I open my mouth, then why am I even doing this? So please ask a question, and I'd ask you to be polite enough to let me answer it.
Yes, I am, and I think that.
Yes, I am polite, and I think that but he didn't answer. He answered the question, and he answered the question really well. He talked about he's from Ohio. Again, we didn't know that this eat the dog, eat the cats thing, that these Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, were going to pop up as maybe somebody did, but I didn't see it coming. I didn't see eating cats and dogs in Springfield, Ohio as one of the major issues that was going to sway the 2024 election. And if you did, man, you need to get on TV quickly as some kind of political pundit. You need to start your own podcast. But JD Vance is not just a great ally to Donald Trump and knows what Donald Trump's mission is moving forward. He's also the senator from Ohio. So he can talk very intelligently about this situation.
What's putting the residents of Springfield at risk, which was a town completely ignored by the American media until Donald Trump and I started surfacing some of these concerns, is that they can't afford housing, they can't afford health care. The schools have been overwhelmed, the hospitals have been overwhelmed, and they're overwhelmed because Kamala Harris allowed 20,000 Haitian migrants to get dropped into a small Ohio town of about 40,000 people, and it's completely overwhelmed the services.
Okay, he's got the facts, he's got the figures, he's got the whole, they're undisputable about it. You cannot dispute the fact that Kamala Harris did that. You cannot dispute the fact that those are the number of people there. You cannot dispute the fact that any of this is true. In fact, this is the most amazing thing about the eating cats and dogs story. This is the most amazing thing about the Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, who are hunting ducks in the pond at the park. This is the most amazing thing, that the Kamala Harris administration, the Kamala Harris campaign, the media, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post, none of them are disputing the fact that Kamala Harris dropped 20,000 Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio. Not one time have you heard anyone say, that's not true. That didn't happen. Not one of them is disputing the fact that the governor is now calling on the federal government because their reserves are getting depleted, because their economy is being decimated, that their citizens are scared, that Ohio is floundering in a lot of parts because of these Haitian immigrants, and that, yes, cats and dogs and geese and ducks are going missing, and that Haitian immigrants are using them as food because, again, they were dropped there without any help or support from Kamala Harris. None of that is in dispute. That's the beautiful thing about this. It takes the onus of this election. It takes the major, issues facing the United States of America away from dumb things like, should we have a federal abortion ban? Or what about the peaceful transfer of power and the J6 convicted felons? Those things are irrelevant to the future of the United States of America. What's relevant to the future of the United States of America is securing the border, protecting our sovereignty, and getting these illegal immigrants who also, many of them happen to be committing some kind of violent crime, whether it's catnapping, cat-cuing, or something even worse. And we've seen multiple instances of rape and murder and theft and gangs in Venezuelan gangs taking over Colorado apartment buildings in Aurora and in Chicago. We've seen there's tons of evidence of it all. And nobody can dispute it. They can just sit there and listen to J.D. Vance talk eloquently about how this is a big problem and how Kamala Harris is the reason this problem exists. He was also on CBS with what's her name, who I always forget, and he put her in her place.
You've been talking about these problems, but what have you done to help Governor DeWine with his request for federal help?
Look at this. This is Brennan, Margaret Brennan or whatever. So this is CBS. They're admitting also that there's a problem. They're basically saying, we know there's a problem, but guess what? You're the senator from Ohio. Why haven't you fixed it? Why haven't you, senator from Ohio, fixed the border? Why haven't you, senator from Ohio, stopped Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and the Department of Homeland Security and the federal government from flying these immigrants in from parts unknown and dropping them in various communities around the country? Why have you, one of 100 senators, not done your part? We know there's a problem. We know Governor DeWine's screaming for cash, screaming for help from the federal government. But the question isn't, what's Kamala's issue? The question is, Senator Vance, what have you done?
You've been talking about these problems, but what have you done to help Governor DeWine with his request for federal help?
Well, the most important thing that we can do to assist Governor DeWine and the whole state of Ohio, and frankly the whole country, Margaret, is to stop Kamala Harris's open border. And for 2 years, I've been fighting for policies that do exactly that. You have to ask yourself, why have these 20,000 Haitian migrants been dropped into a small Ohio town in just a few years, Margaret? And the answer is because Kamala Harris implemented what's called temporary protective service for over 100,000 Haitian migrants. She basically, with a magic wand, granted amnesty to thousands of people who shouldn't have been in this country, and now a small Ohio town is dealing with the consequences. And to anybody listening, Margaret, this is what Kamala Harris wants to do to every town in this country. Overwhelm them with migration, stress their municipal budgets, see communicable diseases on the rise. What is happening in Springfield is coming to every town and city in this country if Kamala Harris's open border policies are allowed to continue.
Man, I feel bad for Tim Walz. Tim Walz has to debate that guy. Tim Walz has to debate that guy and make himself seem less crazy than, well, his wife.
And you know what else that looks like? Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Donald Trump. We are turning the page. 52 days and we are turning the page. 52 days and it is bye-bye, Donald Trump.
I mean, she's fun at parties, I bet, huh? She's fun at parties. She must be she's the wife that probably goes to the party and has a couple too many Chablis and then just, everyone's talking about her the next. Oh my gosh, could you, Gwen last night? Holy cow. I know. Can you believe what she said? She always gets like that. Do you remember the time that we had mimosas at brunch? Bottomless mimosas. Do you remember that? Oh my God. Yes, I do. And girl, that's Gwen. That's Gwen. Anyway, Tim Walz has to take on J.D. Vance, who is just an impossible. I mean, he's going to be impossible to attend to for the Democrats. And by that point, there's going to be. I mean, look, and that's still weeks away. There's going to be so much more news. News is happening so quickly. News last Friday, when we left last week, we were still talking about the debate. We were still talking about who won. We were still talking about what the next step was going to be for Donald Trump and for Kamala Harris. We were wondering, was there going to be another debate? And now, what are we talking about? A second assassination attempt. And we know the shooter. We have him in custody. We're going to be trying to dig into it. You've got Governor DeSantis investigating it. You've got the federal government investigating it. You've got Donald Trump, who is going back out on the campaign trail, by the way. He's not stopping. He's not stopping. And we know what happens. Every single time something bad happens to Donald Trump, we know what happened after the first assassination attempt. He was martyred and his poll numbers skyrocketed. We know what happened after the first debate with Joe Biden. Donald Trump's poll numbers skyrocketed. We saw what happened when he was convicted of 34 felonies. Donald Trump's poll numbers skyrocketed. We know we know why. The judge in that case, Merchan, said, I'm not going to sentence Donald Trump until after the election. The reason is because had he sentenced Donald Trump to any kind of term in prison, any kind of community service, anything at all, it would have caused Donald Trump's popularity and poll numbers to skyrocket. Well, now guess what? There's been a second attempt on his life. And I would imagine in the next coming days, we're going to see his poll numbers skyrocketing once again. Listen, there was some stuff with J.D. Vance and tariffs, but I may save that till tomorrow because we're going to do this all again tomorrow. If you are new here today, and we do get new people every single day, please hit subscribe. The big subscribe button, wherever it happens to be, just tap it. Tap the notifications bell. Let YouTube and Rumble and X and everybody else know, yeah, you like this stuff. You enjoyed this show, and you're going to enjoy it every single day at noon Eastern, 11 Central. Let them know, yeah, you like our content, our videos, our podcasts. If you're listening on Spotify, for example, subscribe. If you're listening on iTunes, follow us. Because we want to make sure that we can continue to interact with you and share with you. We want to continue to bring you the information you need in an entertaining format. We want to make sure that you're getting informed and inspired and enlightened because it's going to take a lot of energy. I hear people all the time, you know what they tell me? They go, oh my God, I'm exhausted. They go, this election is exhausting me. I'm so tired. I couldn't believe it. All day yesterday, people were like, it's Sunday. It's supposed to be a relaxing Sunday, the Lord's Day. We're supposed to take time to be with family and not do work. It was my anniversary. It was my 23rd wedding anniversary yesterday. And in the morning we had breakfast and flowers and we exchanged gifts. Then we went to enjoy a football game. And then in the afternoon, you know what I was doing? This. Because there was an assassination attempt on President Trump. And we needed to make sure that we were on top of it. We needed to make sure that we were bringing you the information you needed. Yes, it's exhausting. I get it. Yes, there's so much every single day. But you don't need to overwhelm yourself with it. Just give us an hour. Give us an hour for Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, either the live stream or the podcast, or both if you want. And you will be informed and you will be inspired and we will keep you going. It's going to take all of us working together to pat each other on the back, to lift each other up and say, we're almost there. 50 days from today, we all go to the election, to the polls. Unless you go early vote, which I would recommend. 50 days from today is election day and all of this will be over. And we will be working every single day to spread the word of conservatism, combative conservatism. We will be working every single day to bring you the truth, to cut through the lies, to fact check the fact checkers, and get you everything that you need to realize there's only one real right choice to save this country, to save this nation, to save your family, to save your fortune, to save your posterity, to save your kids and your grandkids. And most importantly, to save the Republic. I leave you today with Gwen Walls waving goodbye.
And you know what else that looks like? Bye-bye.